man. All right, here we go. We should be back in the building. Y'all know what to do. It is that time. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. We should be good to go up in here on this Wednesday morning. Hopefully y'all are doing well, and welcome. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream. I am your host, ClassE at patreon.com/ClassEbeats. By the way, the link is in the description. Y'all make sure you check it out. Also, you'll see in the pinned comment in the chat, y'all make sure you go and check out our brand new channel, Jury of Your Peers. We're going to be live streaming other court cases over there with no commentary, just the pure court cases. So make sure y'all check that out as well. We've got some interesting things to get into today. Obviously, we've got to get an update on what's going on between Venezuela, China, Russia, and the United States. We got a lot happening there. We're going to get into Michael Proctor, and he's officially scared of Karen Reed. This man is shaking in his boots, and I'm going to reveal to you guys exactly what Karen Reed's team has already. You're going to be surprised at the information that you find out in this segment of today's show. Also, we're going to talk about Candace Owens. I know some of y'all are probably disappointed about that. Sorry, Taco Tuesday. Candace gave an interesting update, and one point I want to key in when it comes to what Candace Owens mentioned with her investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Well, we're going to get into it here shortly. Before I do, I got to say what's up to the people, man. Thank y'all for making this show the amazing place that it is, and I got to show love to everyone who does that. And I would be remiss if I didn't start with my awesome, amazing Amy in there. Beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy E up in here doing what she does, and that's be amazing. We've got Les Cleaver in here. The big dog J Money is in the building. In blue, A Fits. I see y'all. Shout out to the member gang in here. Taco Tuesday is here on a Wednesday. Good to see you. We got Mary in the building as well, and so many more of y'all. Thank y'all for being in here. If you could, please make sure that you like the video on your way in. Likes are free, helps the channel continue to grow, lets the algorithm know that you guys are enjoying the show, and it shares the video, the channel, and this specific live stream with more people as well. So thank you to the 2,000 of you. Oh my goodness, that liked the video. Y'all love you some Karen Reed. I could tell. Anytime we talk about Karen Reed, everybody shows up. So thank y'all for the support. I won't ask for likes for the rest of the show. 2,000 of you liking the video before we even start is absolutely insane. So thank y'all for the love. Also, if you're feeling extra generous, you can share out the video as well. All you have to do is click the share button, and it's got an arrow that's curved pointing to the right that allows you to share the video to any social media platform you're on, whether that's X, Instagram, Facebook. You can even share it in your group chat via text. So thank you to everyone that does that. I also will be reading super chats as we go throughout the show. So thank you to everyone who goes the extra mile and sends in the super chat as well. Speaking of, did we do it? Are we back? Oh man, did we say? I think we might have saved the live stream. Oh my gosh. Woo! Wow. That was insane. I don't know what happened, but for some reason my streaming software was just not having it today. So hopefully we should be back at it. Thank you to all 6,000 of you that were in here patiently waiting. Y'all are amazing, man. Wow. Is the picture okay? Is it clear? Okay. It looks like we're doing good. My goodness. Woo. All right. Sometimes, you know, you just got to do it yourself. Shout out to YouTube. Thank you, In Blue. I don't know if you heard me read your super chat. I feel like we need to do another intro. Thank y'all for holding on. I'm not going to hold you hostage anymore. In Blue, thank you for the super chat. Says, thank you of my CEB fam. Hope all is well with you guys. Yes, all is well. Thank you for being here. Wow. It was Candace's fault. Blame it on Candace. I shouldn't have said anything. I shouldn't have said anything about Candace Owens. I don't know what happened there, but thankfully, by the grace of God, we were able to figure it out. Let's go ahead and get into our first topic before I mess something else up. We've been talking about this entire situation with Venezuela and the back and forth between the US, China, Russia, and what's going to happen with the oil in Venezuela, which is obviously the biggest deal here. They got a dictator out of the government. He's going to be awaiting trial, was arraigned recently, which we're going to talk about and we have talked about. And now we're here with the whole oil situation. We're going to hear from Marco Rubio, and he's going to talk about basically how the entire operation went down. But before I get into that, I want to talk about some breaking news that has just happened over the last couple of hours. And we're finding out that the U.S. is not holding back. The United States is actually taking over these oil tankers. They're going to get what was offered and what was promised to them. And we're going to be able to see it and hear about it here. Check this out. United States forces in actively boarding and seizing a Venezuelan oil tanker that is Russian flagged. Uh-oh. Russia's not going to be happy about that. The U.S. military got there before Russia did. The vessel is located between Iceland and the U.K. and tried to get around President Trump's blockade, but has failed. Meanwhile, a second tanker in the Caribbean is about to be seized. This is huge. Trump does not mess around. Let's see what Fox had to say about this. You know, they are singing the praises.
The ship, previously known as the Bella One, had been accused of violating American sanctions and shipping Iranian oil. The ship has also transported Venezuelan oil in the past, but is reporting to be empty right now. Photos showing a U.S. Army Little Bird helicopter with a boarding party on the skids have been seen abeam of the tanker. Little Birds are flown by the U.S. military's elite 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, known as the Night Stalkers. This is the same unit that flew into Venezuela to grab Nicolas Maduro and his wife last weekend as part of the full Pegasus package ordered by President Trump.
Wow.
Now, Russia reportedly deployed a submarine and other vessels to escort the oil tanker. It appears the U.S. military got there first. The sanctioned tanker was recently reflagged to become a Russian vessel. Last month, President Trump ordered a full blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. And the U.S. Coast Guard had been trying to board the ship last month in the Caribbean when she was heading to Venezuela. The Justice Department issued a warrant to seize that ship over its alleged sanctions violations for transporting oil on behalf of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is classified as a foreign terrorist organization.
Can't do it.
The tanker then changed course and raced to Europe, with the U.S. Coast Guard cutter in hot pursuit to shadow the tanker. In recent days, the U.S. military sent a boarding team of commandos to Britain for the mission of boarding and taking down the tanker. Previous tracking data showed the sanctioned tanker about 100 miles south of Iceland, likely trying to get to Russia. And now, Dana, U.S. forces are reportedly trying to seize a second oil tanker in the Caribbean. As we've just learned, we are working to confirm that second report, Dana.
All right, well, hey, there are
absolutely crazy. So, hey, the U.S. is not playing around. President of the United States said, hey, we had an agreement. Y'all promised. Let's go ahead and get our stuff. And you did hear that right. Russia did send the submarine out there. So I think tensions are starting to get pretty high in the situation between the United States and Venezuela. We're going to have to see how this plays out. But it's seeming like the United States of America is not wasting any time in collecting on this deal that was made. So we're going to hear from Marco Rubio and talk about somewhat of what's going to play out over the next few months, over the next few years when it comes to Venezuela, and his take on why it was so important to remove Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela in the first place. Check this out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to start with this big picture question. Is the United States now at war with Venezuela?
There's not a war. I mean, we are at war against drug trafficking organizations, not a war against Venezuela. We are enforcing American laws with regards to oil sanctions. We have sanctioned entities. We go to court. We get a warrant. We seize those boats with oil, and that will continue. So clear, and we would continue to reserve the right to take strikes against drug boats that are bringing drugs towards the United States that are being operated by transnational criminal organizations, including the Cartel de los Sols. Of course, the leader of that cartel, is now in U.S. custody and facing U.S. justice in the Southern District of New York, and that's Nicolas Maduro. So we made a big progress in that regard.
Mr. Secretary, who is in charge? Are you running Venezuela right now?
Yeah, I mean, I keep people, fixating on that. Here's the bottom line on it is we expect to see changes in Venezuela.
Going to be the
changes
president.
of all kinds, long-term, short-term. We'd love to see all kinds of changes. But the most immediate changes are the ones that are in the national interest of the United States. That's why we're involved here, because of how it applies and has a direct impact on the United States. Okay, we are not going to be able to allow in our hemisphere a country that becomes a crossroads for the activities of all of our adversaries around the world. We just can't allow it. We can't have a country where the people in charge of its military and in charge of its police department are openly cooperating with drug trafficking organizations.
And not to mention that, but Maduro also reportedly had people in the street. So I don't want to call them vigilantes, but he had several groups connected to the cartel that were helping him do what he needed to get done as far as militant force. And that's why a lot of people were leaving Venezuela in the first place.
We're not going to allow that. These things are direct threats to the United States, and we intend to use every element of leverage that we have to ensure that that changes. The one I would point everyone to is that our military is helping the Coast Guard conduct a law enforcement function, which is not just the capture of Maduro, but the enforcement of our sanctions. We go to court, we get a warrant, we seize the boats, and we think that's this tremendous leverage, incredible, crippling leverage, which we intend to continue to use until we see the changes that we need to see that are benefit to the American people. And by the way, we believe to the people of Venezuela as well.
But Mr. Secretary, I think there's a lot of questions about who the point people are during this transition. President Trump said, we're going to run the country. So is it you? Is it Secretary Hegseth? Who are those people who will be running the country specifically?
Well, it's not running, it's running policy. The policy with regards to this. We want Venezuela to move in a certain direction because not only do we think it's good for the people of Venezuela, it's in our national interest. It either touches on something that's a threat to our national security or touches on something that's either beneficial or harmful.
And are you involved in that transition,
so obviously
Secretary?
I'm very involved in this.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, of course. I mean, I think everyone knows I'm pretty involved on politics in this hemisphere. Obviously, the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor are very involved in all these elements. The Department of War plays a very important role here, along with the Department of Justice, for example, because they're the ones that have to go to court. So this is a team effort by the entire national security apparatus of our country, but it is running this policy. And the goal of the policy is to see changes in Venezuela that are beneficial to the United States, first and foremost, because that's who we work for, but also, we believe, beneficial for the people of Venezuela, who have suffered tremendously. We want a better future for Venezuela, and we think a better future for the people of Venezuela also is stabilizing for the region and makes the neighborhood we live in a much better and safer place.
President Trump said the administration is working with Maduro's Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez. Why does the administration oppose working with the opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado? She's the Nobel Peace Prize winner, of course, as well. Her coalition has the support of 70% of Venezuelans. Why not work with her?
They probably
will. Well, a couple
will.
of things. First of all, Maria Corina Machado is fantastic, and she's someone I've known for a very long time, and that whole movement is. But we are dealing with the immediate reality. The immediate reality is that, unfortunately, and sadly, but unfortunately, the vast majority of the opposition is no longer present inside of Venezuela. We have short-term things that have to be addressed right away. We all wish to see a bright future for Venezuela, a transition to democracy. All of these things are great, and we all want to see that. I've worked on that for 15 years on a personal level, both in the Senate and now as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State. These are things I still care about, we still care about. But what we're talking about is what happens over the next 2-3 weeks, 2-3 months, and how that ties to the national interest of the United States. And so we expect to see more compliance and cooperation than we were previously receiving. With Nicolas Maduro, you could not make a deal or an arrangement. Although he, by the way, was given very generous offers. He could have left Venezuela as recently as, a week and a half ago. There were opportunities available for him to avoid all of this because he's not someone we can work with. He suckered the Biden administration into stupid deals. He's made a career out of not keeping deals and figuring out how to save himself by buying time. And President Trump was not going to fall into that trap. So now there are other people in charge of the military and police apparatus there. They're going to have to decide now what direction they want to go. And we hope they will choose a different direction than the one Nicolas Maduro picked. Ultimately, we hope this leads to a holistic transition all the way around in Venezuela, societal, political, all of that. We're in favor of all of that. But right now, we have to take the first steps. And the first steps are securing what's in the national interest of the United States and also beneficial to the people of Venezuela.
And, well, you got to think about this. Delcy Rodriguez, we heard from her, is the VP, was voted in by the courts as the interim president. However, that works because the president who was there wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. She had a lot to say about the situation and eventually seems to be working with the United States. Eventually, at the end of the day, it's going to come down between what's going to happen between Russia, China, and the United States. It seems like now there are some tensions between Russia and the United States, and we even heard it from the president of the United States himself when speaking about how Russia handled the whole Ukraine situation. So we're going to keep you guys up to date on this, not only because it is a legal issue, because the president of Venezuela was indicted here, but because as a lot of us who watch this show, as someone who is in America, this may affect us in the near future, and it's definitely going to affect us in the long term as well. Let me know what y'all think in the comments and in the chat. Thank y'all again for showing so much love and not bailing after we had some technical difficulties. We still got 6,000 of y'all in here. Oh my gosh. It's Candace's fault. It's crazy. Twitter's not broadcasting. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm only able to live stream from YouTube right now. Because of the way I had to fix everything and set it up, we were having some technical difficulties on the other side. So we're going to try and get things straightened out there. But how are y'all feeling about this entire Venezuela situation? I'm still, and we're going to get into more about it here in a second. I'm still shocked and surprised to see how negative the response has been about this. Again, because President Donald Trump is so polarizing, you're going to see stuff like that happen. You're going to see people say, I don't care what he does. I don't like it. I'm not going to like it. And I can't support it because he's Donald Trump. But the large majority of people, you're even hearing people over on the Democratic side who are saying, listen, man, the president's doing what he's got to do. We have been talking about this for over 2 decades, it seems like now. And we're going to keep moving forward, nearly 2 decades. And we're going to keep moving forward. So he wasn't afraid to do what needed to be done. And not only did this administration have a bounty on Maduro's head, but the previous administration and even the administration before that. So 3 administrations we're looking at now said this guy needs to go. And we talked about it in the video as well. So they just birthed a problem with Asia too. Yep. China is very invested in what's going on here. They seized these tankers because allegedly they're involved with illegal movement of oil. So we're going to have to see what happens here moving forward. So let's go ahead and get into this next topic because we got a little bit more information about the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. And we're actually going to hear from Nicolas Maduro's lawyer and attorney here, and then we'll find out more information and the truth behind what's going on in Venezuela. And shout out to Amy. She gave us a lot of information on this as well. I'll be reading that shortly. But first, let's hear from Nicolas Maduro's lawyer on his arraignment the other day when he pled not guilty. Check it out. Shout out to TMZ. Don't copyright.
How do you think today went? What are we expecting going forward? Sorry, no response. It's fine.
Everything we want to say, we'll say in court.
No problem, sir. Thank you so much.
So he had nothing to say. He said, y'all stop talking to me. I know I baited y'all on that one a little bit. But of course, as we move forward, here's what's going on with the charges now. And Marco Rubio's former stomping grounds, now that he's the Secretary of State, Florida is considering bringing some charges against Nicolas Maduro as well. Now, we're going to hear from the governor of Florida here shortly, but it's an interesting thought here because I've actually been going back and forth about this with more charges being brought against Nicolas Maduro, specifically in Venezuela. As Venezuela moves forward with their regime change, as it's being called, are they going to seek charges against Nicolas Maduro themselves as well? We'll have to see how that plays out. Let's hear what's going on in Florida.
Tonight, Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro added a new lawyer to his defense team.
Bruce Fines, a former Justice Department official who served during President Ronald Reagan's administration. And here in Florida, the governor wants Nicolas Maduro to now face state criminal charges as well.
The governor
Crazy.
says there is not only a narcotics case against the now ousted Venezuelan president, but he claims Maduro helped send gang members into the U.S.
Governor DeSantis claims Florida was among those destinations. Here's reporter Ari Height.
Let's see what Ron has to
Governor
say.
Ron DeSantis says he fully supports his attorney general bringing a state case against Nicolas Maduro. He says he believes Maduro committed
crazy.
crimes here in Florida, but a man who used to prosecute criminals in Florida says it would be a very difficult case to win. When Florida Governor
about
Ron
winning, it's
DeSantis
about
first talked about the
prosecuting.
arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, he praised the Trump administration, saying Maduro needed to be removed from power.
They took what should be the most prosperous country in South America and turned it into a place where people have to eat trash to be able to survive.
And then DeSantis threw a bit of a curveball, saying the state of Florida is also looking at charging Maduro on both immigration and drug offenses.
We're looking at the statutes to see, obviously, we've got robust narcotics statutes.
But Dave Arenberg questions how successful the state might be.
You could try to prosecute Maduro under state charges, but there are serious obstacles.
Arenberg is the former state attorney in Palm Beach County. He says a separate state case against Maduro might not survive simple legal challenges, like the fact that Maduro cannot be tried twice for the same crime, and federal law overrides state law. And Arenberg also questions if the state could even prove a crime against Maduro.
Well, that's going to be up to a grand jury that sees the indictment. And again, y'all know how the saying goes, you can indict a ham sandwich. So depending on what charges they bring and depending on what the attorney general says, they might have a case here.
So, evidentiary wise, that the leader of Venezuela was specifically sending drugs into Florida.
On top of that, Arenberg questions the point of a state case, given that if he's convicted in the federal case, Maduro will already be serving a life sentence.
Just the gun charges alone.
Doesn't matter.
They have a 30-year mandatory minimum sentence. Maduro is 63 years old. That doesn't even get to the narco trafficking charges, which has a 20-year mandatory minimum.
Arenberg says if the state does decide to file charges against Maduro, there's no doubt in his mind they would have to wait for the federal case to end first. In his words, there's no way the federal government is playing second fiddle to a state. Ari Height, WPBF 25 News.
All right, so let's keep it moving forward, and we're going to hear from the press secretary. What does she have to say? Caroline Leavitt says that the president is saying that he's pleased to announce that the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high quality sanctioned oil to the United States of America. The oil will be sold at market price, and that money will be controlled by the president of the United States to ensure it is used to the benefit of the people of Venezuela and the United States. How do you have a problem with this? Somebody is, though. Shout out to the president. Is he going to stand by his promise? I think so. He said, I've asked Energy Secretary Chris Wright to execute this plan immediately. It will be taken by storage ships and brought directly to uploading docks in the United States. And that's what they're doing right now, as we saw in the previous segment. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Now, when it comes to where Maduro is being held, this was an interesting point that Amy brought up and posted over on X. If you don't follow Amy on X, if you want to keep up to date on some of the news that we talk about here and the latest news that's going on in the world in general, make sure you follow her at IAMYLEIGH on X. That's at IAMyLea on X. She says this: Maduro, Luigi Mangione, and soon 6ix9ine, which he actually turned himself into the feds yesterday, all end up in the same Brooklyn MDC jail. Ex-president locked up on narco-terrorism charges, alleged CEO assassin already inside facing murder, and rainbow hair snitch. Oh, I didn't say that. I'm just reading what it said, 6ix9ine. Reporting tomorrow for his 3-month violation bid. This is the wildest high-profile lineup in jail history. Who do y'all think runs the yard first? The dictator, the shooter, or the rat? I mean, Maduro's an intimidating guy. We've seen him in videos, so I don't know. He might be okay in there. He might be able to handle himself. He was trying to fight Elon Musk, so he's not afraid of the smoke. Also, Amy has this. She lays out the entirety of the history of this back and forth, the 36-year history of the back and forth between Venezuela, America, and how we got into this place initially. So check this out. She says the 36-year-old blueprint no one is talking about. If you think the move on Maduro was a spur of the moment decision, you're missing the biggest picture. That didn't start today. It started in 1989. Legal experts are tracing the recent military/law enforcement operation back to a memo written over 3 decades ago by Bill Barr. The argument: the president has the inherent power to arrest foreign leaders on foreign soil if it bypasses international law. This is the part that they don't want you to connect. In the 1989 memo, a president and a global power move. If you think what's happening right now has come out of nowhere, it didn't. After reports surfaced that the U.S. military and law enforcement operations targeted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife, questions exploded overnight. Was this legal? Did it need to be signed off by Congress? Who authorized it? How did this happen in the first place without another authorization? The answer may trace back 36 years. Legal experts are pointing to a little-known 1989 Justice Department memo written by none other than Bill Barr, a memo that critics say laid the groundwork for how a president could justify arresting a foreign leader on foreign soil, even if it violated international law. So we're somewhat saying here, maybe it violated international law, but maybe they also have the right to do this. When asked about NATO, when asked about the UN specifically, the US said, we don't care about the UN. They're full of it anyway. I don't have a problem with the UN saying what they need to say. We're going to do what we need to do to get this man who has an indictment right here in the United States. And then it says, at the time, Bill Barr was a senior official at the Department of Justice. His memo urged that the United States president has inherent constitutional authority to order arrest abroad, even when those actions conflict with international law or the United Nations Charter, which we just talked about. In plain language, if the president orders it, the Department of Justice can justify it. Fast forward to today. Legal scholar Jack Goldsmith says that the memo could have been easily used as a domestic legal foundation for the Maduro operation, especially if it involved both military and law enforcement forces. And here's the part that can make everyone pause. Goldsmith argues that Congress has largely abandoned oversight of the presidential war powers. Courts rarely intervene. Other countries can protest, but can't realistically stop it. The only thing that would probably stop it, in my opinion, is Russia and China being like, if you go in here, we're going to have a problem. Because what's Venezuela going to do? To be honest, they wouldn't really do anything. No international law, no Congress, not the courts, but the executive branch precedent and old legal opinions written decades ago. This isn't just about Maduro. This isn't about Venezuela alone. And this isn't about party lines. This is about the extent of power one office holds and how quietly that power has expanded over time. Supporters call it strength. Critics call it dangerous. Legal experts call it predictable. Maduro now claims innocence and insists he is still the president of Venezuela. That's a stupid take by Maduro because his own country, the court in his country said, hey, man, you're not the president. Sorry, we're going with the VP now. Hopefully America can figure things out. So again, I guess he has to say that. He just is being loud and proud. His wife backed him up on that too, but it's not true. It's not factual in any way, shape, or form at all. The bigger question remains, if the 1989 memo can justify this today, what else can be justified tomorrow? This is why history matters. This is why old documents resurface. And this is why people across the political spectrum are paying attention. Read it again. Whether you cheer this or fear this, this changes the conversation. Shout out to Amy for that amazing article she wrote. Again, y'all go check that out. Go follow her on X. Again, this isn't the last time we're going to hear about Venezuela. It's going to be something we're talking about. This trial is going to be so interesting if we get to this point. I want to know, and to the legal experts who watch the channel and support the community, let me know what y'all think about Venezuela bringing charges as well. Even if Florida doesn't get an opportunity to bring charges and they somehow that opportunity is taken away from them because they would be trying someone for the same crime. Venezuela seems like they would have a lot of smoke for Maduro, and also seems like they could have a way to bring charges to him as well. Is there a point? Is there a time when the United States says, you know what? We got what we needed. He's out of Venezuela. We did our part. Y'all can have him back and do with him what you will. Interesting thoughts there. Let me know what y'all think in the comments and in the chat. Shout out to the gang is in here. Y'all are showing so much love. All 6,000 plus of you. Woo. What are y'all saying? Our Michigan governor is a major POS. Oh, man, that's crazy. Don't do that too. Don't do that, Taco Tuesday. Y'all are doing all right out there. Detroit's looking nice. Y'all got there's some good things about it. But yeah, I've heard a lot about the governor over there too. I'm not going to bring it up here. I understand. We got our own issues here right in Fulton County, so I'm not going to even talk about that. What's up, Classy Beats and chat? Hope y'all are having a great day. Hey, good to see you in here. Our economy is in dire squabbles. China can close off Asia. Walmart is already considering leaving the U.S. Really? How? Why? Why would they even do that? And even if you look on the tariffs that are on China right now, that would be insane. If I'm not going to have that conversation here. We're not a show on economics, but yeah, all those rumors that you hear talking about, nobody's going to do anything. America is making these moves for a reason, because they can. They can, and there's nothing these other countries going to be able to do about it. So y'all just chill out. This you're dealing with the real one right now. And maybe we will talk about that at some point. Y'all have to let me know what you think. If you want to get into, I know some of y'all absolutely just hate the political side of things, but if you want to get into more of the political side, in some instances, we could probably do that at some point. I know most of you are here for Michael Proctor, so let's check out what is going on with this Michael Proctor situation, because ooh, man, we are going to find out something that is very interesting to me. I know y'all will find this interesting as well. When it comes to Michael Proctor, we are now going to find out some of what Alan Jackson and Karen Reed's legal team has when it comes to Michael Proctor and this 13 years plus of iCloud data that was essentially found and cost him not only his career, not only his job, but a chance to get his job back. If y'all remember, we covered it here on the channel. Michael Proctor was fighting to get his job back, which was crazy in the first place. But then all of a sudden he said, you know what? I'm good, guys. I don't want my job back. We'll just put this aside and I'll go be a manager at McDonald's. And now we're finding out, and we found out that one of the reasons he did that is because we've got a lot of information, and his iCloud was found with over 13 plus years of data. Crazy. So with finding that out, y'all know Alan Jackson, you've seen how he's moved. Alan Jackson wants to get his hands on this information. And so there was a motion filed by Karen Reed's team, and they filed a motion to compel to get the data that was found on Michael Proctor's phone. It's pertinent to the civil case. It was pertinent, to be honest, to Karen Reed's criminal case, but thankfully she beat most of that. And now here we are with this document of Michael Proctor essentially saying, hey, listen, I don't want to give y'all anything. I don't want Karen Reed to have this. And the man's looking like he's scared. So let's get into this document. Again, it's posted over on X. Amy shared this as well. You can follow her on X at IAMYLEIGH on X. That's at IAmyLee on X. She says, Michael Proctor doesn't think Karen Reed's team should have access to his download of his personal phone. What do you guys think? Let's read it here and see what's going on. Third party Michael Proctor statement in support of the Norfolk District Attorney's Office opposition to defendant Karen Reed's motion to compel production of data. Alan Jackson said, let me see that. Now comes third party Michael Proctor and submits this memorandum in support of Norfolk County District Attorney's Office opposition to the plaintiff's motion to compel in response to a subpoena. They said, we want that information. We want that data. And it's pertinent to this case. Let's be real, because Karen Reed, we know she filed a counter lawsuit. She hasn't filed one yet against Yuri and some of the others, but we know Proctor was in there. We know Brian was in there. We know every one of the McCabe's, every one of the Alberts was in there as well. And this information on Proctor's phone is going to be very, very informative when it comes to Karen Reed finding evidence to support her claims in her civil case. So it says defendant Karen Reed's motion should be denied because it and the accompanying subpoena constitute nothing more than a fishing expedition of Proctor's personal cell phone. I don't think so at all. This man is named in a countersuit. They should be able to get this data. It's not a fishing expedition. We already know that Michael Proctor, he said things about Karen Reed. He did things that he shouldn't have done during the investigation. And that alone should allow Karen Reed to just sue him to kingdom come. So why they think this is a fishing expedition, I don't know if this is them just going through the legal channels that they need to go through to say that they did what they did. They crossed their T's, they dotted their I's. But yeah, I can't imagine that a fishing expedition would be the right term when it comes to Michael Proctor and finding out more information from him. But also they state the Commonwealth versus Lamb. We're not going to get into that. But what happened was to quash a subpoena where it continues when it constitutes nothing more than a fishing expedition. Moreover, Reed and her attorney already have in their possession at least 38,000 pages of text messages from Proctor's personal cell phone. Ooh, did y'all know that? And they talk about the exhibit here. They have over 38,000 pages, not 38,000 text messages, 38,000 pages of this man's text. I can't imagine what what Alan Jackson saw in this, which has probably made him even more upset and frustrated at this situation because we didn't get to hear about a lot of it in the Karen Reed trial. And it says in June 10th of 2024, the criminal trial testimony of Michael Proctor. See also the DA's office opposition at, I think that's page 2. Reed's motion seeks previously disclosed and widely publicized text messages sent by Proctor with an assumption that there are others. No, there are others. We know this for a fact because there's other cases that were potentially going to be affected by this as well. We talked about them. These 38,000 pages upon information and belief were subpoenaed by a federal grand jury pursuant to an investigation into Massachusetts state police involvement in a criminal investigation and prosecution of defendant Reed, and included Proctor's personal text messages sent both before and well after the state's grand jury on June 9th of 2022 in the indictment of Karen Reed on the second-degree murder charges. Importantly, the contents of Proctor's cell phone are currently under a December 10th, 2025 protective order. We talked about that as well in the criminal case of the Commonwealth versus Miles King. Miles King is another situation, another trial that could be heavily affected by Michael Proctor's conduct. Miles King, the entire situation is crazy, and it was alleged by Miles King's attorney that Michael Proctor not only said some racist things against Miles King, but there may be some evidence in Michael Proctor's cell phone that actually show that he conducted the investigation a certain way because Miles King was a black man, because how Proctor felt about Miles King. Not great to this case where some say Miles King is most likely guilty. The Norfolk Superior Court docket number, and they have it there, accordingly, to the extent that Reed alleges that Proctor's cell phone contains information that shows bias or prejudice in pursuing a criminal investigation against her, such messages, if they ever existed, have most certainly been produced during the criminal proceedings against Reed. My guess is those 38,000 pages, they started when Karen Reed was being investigated and when everything went down, and they ended throughout the end of the trial, which is why they would say this here. So their argument is Reed's request seeks documents that are overly broad in time and scope, seeks documents that are privileged, and seeks documents that are not likely to lead to admissibility or of admissible information. As pointed out in the DA's office opposition, Reed's subpoena seeks text chats, audio files, pictures, and videos that span many years, in some instances predate Proctor's employment as a trooper, which began in 2013. The DA's opposition on page 3, accordingly, the subpoena on its face is grossly overly broad in time and scope. Not really. I think they know exactly how much time they need to look into these text messages. Moreover, also noted by the DA's office, Reed's subpoena seeks documents protected as attorney-client communication and documents protected by the spousal privilege. Yeah, but wasn't Proctor already guilty of talking about the conversation with his family? I get spousal privilege is there, but one of the reasons he got in trouble is because he was talking to his sister about an ongoing investigation, dummy. To be sure, all these communications are privileged and not subject to disclosure. Could be true. Furthermore, As non-party to this litigation, Proctor has an exception of privacy in the information contained within the electronically stored data. The Supreme Judicial Court has previously held that all persons have privacy rights in response to documents and information sought by subpoena, and the court has cautioned trial judges that the existence of personal interest in non-disclosure of documents might well persuade a court against ordering production of the documents. We're not getting into that. Undersigned counsel have not seen scores of thousands of documents, texts, emails, messages, and other items contained within the electronically stored data, whereas the data contains data going back more than 13 years. Whoo! Has this man been a piece of you know what? Or did he just start being that when he became a MSP? I don't know. It is likely to be more than 100,000 items. It is likely to contain photos and communications of, with not only with Proctor's wife and attorneys, but also his children, his family members, parents, friends, and others who have zero interest or relationship to this matter. Additionally, the data may contain sensitive privileged information regarding other criminal investigations and may jeopardize the scope of those investigations. He wasn't worried about that when it came to talking to his sister about Karen Read's trial and Karen Read's investigation. Moreover, it may contain confidential privileged data, medical information that is protected by HIPAA, obviously, which limit the availability of medical and hospital records, as well as other state and federal laws. I mean, I guess the thing that Alan Jackson could do is just say, okay, well, redact some of it. Or the judge could say, you can redact some of it, but you need to give them the information. Can y'all imagine them having to go through 13 years of this man's data? It does seem like it would be a lot, but if they can use that to show a pattern, it could benefit them when arguing Karen Read's civil lawsuits. So let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. Proctor does not want these text messages getting out, and I know he's probably thinking about how these things will be leaked, brought to the public. Man, I hope this guy finds an island or someplace nice to hide, because it's getting ugly and he's scared. Let me know what y'all think in the comments and in the chat. This man's scared. He's looking at Karen Read like, man, hey, listen, leave me alone. I didn't do anything. I'm sorry, Karen Read, that I talked about your leaky balloon knot. Oh, man. I don't think they should have the phone. There are cases where the judge has denied the phone being handed over. That is true. But in this case specifically, Proctor's phone information is very pertinent to what Karen Read is dealing with. It's pertinent to her investigation. It's pertinent to her lawsuit in every way. Unless they already have, which they may already have, all of Proctor's messages, let's say starting in 2019 up until the time of the trial, then I can somewhat see their argument here by saying, hey, listen, guys, you don't need all this information. Proctor's already messing up the Miles King situation. He already almost messed up or almost had an impact on the Brian Walsh trial. So let's just leave him alone. I can somewhat see what they're saying. But to just say, oh, no, we're not giving you anything because it's a fishing expedition. You can't call it a fishing expedition if this man has been found to have done this kind of misconduct before. And there may be implications about how he handled himself in the past as well. So Amy's putting in the chat the leaky balloon. Don't do that. Dang, just because I said it. Yeah, that's tough. He was talking about he said she ain't got no he said she ain't got no booty, all that. I mean, it's tough, man. Embarrassing on his part. To Amy for the emojis. All right, let's go ahead and get to this one. Taco Tuesday, if you're still in here, you might have to take this segment off because it is time for us to get back into what's going on with this Candace Owens investigation. And guys, what we're going to hear from Candace Owens here is very interesting because we now have new information from Candace Owens about what Tyler Robinson allegedly or did after he allegedly shot Charlie Kirk. It gets crazy here. We're talking about what Tyler Robinson did before when he called out of work and said he was going to help his grandmother with something. Then the fact that he drove to where his grandmother lived, or an area that his grandmother lived in. Some things are starting to look weird. Candace is going to lay it all out here. I'll leave a link to her full live stream so y'all can go over there and support her on her platform. Make sure you get her those views because she's going crazy. Check this out. Let me know what you guys think about this situation with Tyler Robinson.
All right, you guys, before we get into this craziness, I want to tell you that this episode is being brought to you by Nimi Skincare. I am very intentional with the brands that I work with. Most people, right? Maybe even the thought of what he had just done for the very first time might have made him physically ill. Like, we would expect him to maybe lose his lunch, not exactly pop over to a nearby Dairy Queen to have lunch, or calmly have lunch and just begin texting his lover. Which is why I was very surprised to learn of what Tyler Robinson did thereafter. Ready?
Uh-oh.
Tyler Robinson, we can exclusively confirm to you all, drove 3 hours away from Orem, Utah, down to Panguitch, Utah. I hope I'm saying that right. A lot of the cities sound weird. I think it's Panguitch, Utah. I'm showing you a map of that distance. It is just under 3 hours to get there. Now, what was he doing there? You're probably wondering, did he meet up with somebody? No, he was alone. And what we can tell you that he did when he got there was that he pulled into the Cowboys Smokehouse on North Main Street. He grabbed himself a seat at the bar at this steakhouse, and he ordered himself some more food.
Wow.
Specifically, Tyler Robinson ordered a steak, medium rare, with mashed potatoes and vegetables. There were 3 servers that were working that night. And then after news exploded the following day and people began obsessively sharing, of course, the photo of the suspect, Tyler Robinson, having been captured after 33 hours, well, one of the servers recognized him as the person that was sitting at the bar the night before. So they decided to huddle up with management and said, no, that person, Tyler Robinson, he was here. He was eating a steak. He was eating mashed potatoes. Management said, are you sure? Are you positive that Tyler Robinson said, yes, I'm absolutely sure. Well, they don't have any cameras at this restaurant. So what they decided to do was to verify that he was in the building, not by, of course, consulting outdoor video footage, which they didn't have access to, but rather just looking through credit card charges. Because Tyler Robinson, despite telling his roommate how he wanted to get away with this, remember the messages and like, oh, here's what happened. I don't want anybody to know. Make sure you delete this letter that's under the keyboard, but take a picture of it before you delete it.
Weird.
But read it and then destroy it. He's trying to get away with this crime. Well, he used his credit card. That's how they found it. And so what they did was the right thing. They contacted the feds. Now, that's interesting because I would imagine that after 33 hours, when they sort of gloriously come out and yeehaw, we got him, I would have, and call me crazy, I don't know how this stuff works. I'm not an expert, right? We're not experts, but I would imagine the first thing that they would do is that they would probably just try to figure out where he'd been. And maybe one way they would do that would be going through his credit card charges. I would imagine the federal government had that capability, but they didn't do that. Instead, they were contacted days later by this restaurant. The server filed a report responsibly and said, yeah, he was here. We have the literal receipt. And they explained that Tyler Robinson was not very talkative. He seemed absolutely fine and normal and was texting on his phone. Wow. Maybe that's when he was sending more messages to his lover as he was eating a steak. He was sure hungry is what I would say, but calm nonetheless. He didn't have the jitters. He wasn't scared. He was just hungry. Now, what's fascinating to me is what happens after, because again, I'm expecting that the feds would go, well, let us get down there. Let us get down to Panguitch. Let us start interviewing everybody. Let's start checking all these cameras around here to see if we've got them. No, that's all they did. They sort of were obliged to call them back and just say, okay, what happened? And then that's it. The trail goes cold. Now, remember, I told you guys that I spoke with the lawyer. This would obviously be Erica's lawyer because she's listed as the victim.
This is wild.
And they asserted that at this part in the process, what happens next is that the investigators, separate from Erica, are supposed to be, investigating. They're supposed to be going around trying to gather more information to prove their case that this is definitely the shooter and he acted alone. I would expect that they would have gone down to this restaurant. I can tell you guys today, they have not. Nobody is interested in going down to this restaurant and speaking with these employees and speaking with people nearby and seeing what they saw and learning about Tyler Robinson's demeanor. Because it's not that kind of an investigation, guys. This is case closed. Giddy up. That's what he was. He went down and he had himself a steak after he had some Dairy Queen. Now, 3 hours is a long ride. I get it. He's probably hungry. And I get that he used his credit card because, I don't know, I guess he's Gen Z.
He sat down and ate a steak. Like, come on, man. But at least he was smart and went to a place that didn't have cameras. Find that interesting as well. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. I don't know. Utah, maybe they don't do cameras like that.
Ever heard of like DVDs and stuff? They've always had the technological capabilities. He doesn't even know what cash is. He didn't even think about just going to an ATM and getting cash out to pull off this crime. He thought through everything else, how to scale the rooftops, how to make this happen, where exactly Charlie was going to sit. But everything else kind of falls apart afterwards. All he could think about was getting food, and he decided the best way to try to get away with murder was to use his credit card. Now, parking aside the fact that he's a 4.0 student with a perfect ACT score, he couldn't, that thought just never crossed his mind, just take cash out. So here is what our now updated timeline looks like from that day. It's been a while since we have revisited that, and I think that we also need to revisit, which we are, the Dairy Queen stop, because it had to have occurred earlier than we had initially documented. It definitely happened, but I think the time frame of the stop is wrong, because if we need 3 hours to get from Orem down to Panguitch, and I have confirmed that that happened, again, there was a literal receipt and the FBI knows about it and has that in their possession, then it's got to be earlier, right? It's got to be slightly earlier that he went to Dairy Queen, which would track for me, because if we know that he was throwing clothes out in the Dairy Queen, that's probably going to be a little bit closer to the shooting, and he's not going to hang around. So here's what we have. We have that press conference that happens at 5:30. At 5:59, Kash Patel tweets that the subject, erroneously tweets, that the subject in custody has been released because, they had erroneously tweeted that they had him before that. And he says, our investigation continues. After 6 o'clock p.m. is when we are gauging the first correspondence to have taken place between Tyler and Lance based on the conversation that they were having. 6:38 is when we initially had when that photo was taken, that photo was captured at the Dairy Queen. And I will update that for you guys. I am going back and trying to be more precise, wondering if that needs to be adjusted by an hour. Maybe it was actually 5:38 p.m. and time zones were wrong. I'll follow up with you guys there. And now we can add that 8:45 p.m. That's the time approximately that Tyler turned up in Panguitch, Utah. Again, that is 3 hours away from Orem. He has a meal at the bar counter, and then he leaves around 9:30 p.m. Remind you guys that he is fine. He's in a totally fine mood, and he is texting while he is eating, not speaking much to the servers. So when I spoke to the people who had reported this, they suspect, and I think this is a good suspicion, a good instinct to follow, that he may have gone to his grandma's house afterwards, because apparently that's where his grandmother is from, and she lives nearby. And if you guys recall, Tyler Robinson's grandmother was one of the first people to speak out, and she said, "You have the wrong person." She said,
With that being the case, this is absolutely insane. Because if the grandmother is saying, you got the wrong guy, it wasn't him, there's no way it could be him, we got to get the grandmother up here. I don't know if she would be willing to talk to Candace. Honestly, I wouldn't. But this is very serious information, because if Tyler Robinson was already planning on visiting his grandmother and he was just going about his day, doing what he needed to do, he stopped to get something to eat before he went to his grandmother's, then this entire story we're hearing about Tyler Robinson doesn't add up and doesn't make sense.
Where his grandmother is from, and she lives nearby. And if you guys recall, Tyler Robinson's grandmother was one of the first people to speak out, and she said, "You have the wrong person." She said, "My grandson does not fire guns. My grandson did not commit this murder." And so since I am learning that she is from around here and that she is a local and everyone's familiar with her, they know who she is, I would imagine that it's possible that Tyler Robinson could have gone to his grandmother's house for the night. Again, we don't know that as a fact. I am putting it out there because this is an investigation. And by the way, if you are somebody who is around or rather operates a business around the Cowboy Smokehouse, you may have footage that you're not even aware of. If you have information, maybe the feds called around, I don't know. please, we are inviting you to send us an email to moretips@CandaceOwens.com. But we can now officially plot that in our timeline. And it just makes the Fed's story more just unbelievable. Just unbelievable is what I.
Wow. What do you guys think about that? This could be major in this entire investigation, because if someone has video of Tyler Robinson, or they have video at the time they say Tyler Robinson was there, this could change everything. Because if Tyler Robinson, again, he was there according to his credit card statements, or he wasn't there, that could it changes, because the grandmother's saying it wasn't Tyler Robinson. I know it wasn't him. I can verify it wasn't him. We're not hearing much from the grandmother right now. Obviously, we're most likely going to hear from her at the trial. But if for some reason Tyler Robinson wasn't there, and maybe his credit card was used in some way, and these testimonies that we're hearing from the people that work there, where is that coming from? That's going to be an interesting point as well. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comments and in the chat. Wow. Taco Tuesday, we made it. We made it through Candace Owens. All right. How you feeling over there? Taco Tuesday cannot stand Candace Owens. She's still going on with this investigation. We're going to keep up to date as well. I think this Tyler Robinson point is going to be slept on, because I can foresee a lot more things falling out if there's more information about this. Because if he didn't go to his grandmother's place, and if there's nothing documented saying that he went to his, shout out to Taco Tuesday, he went to his grandmother's, and he was supposed to, he called out of work because he was supposed to help his grandmother move some furniture, then where did that come from? I don't know. Y'all have to let me know what you think. We're going to keep looking at it. Shout out to Candace for doing her thing over there. Thank y'all for the love. I'm so glad we were able to make this happen, because it was looking shaky there for a minute. Thank you to M Blue for the super chat as well. Always showing support. Glad you made it back to the live stream. Thank y'all for sticking around, even though we had some technical difficulties. If you haven't yet, please like the video on your way out. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time that we go live or drop a new video. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day. We're obviously going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's live stream is going to be early. So those of y'all on the West Coast, it's going to be like an 8 o'clock, 8:30 live stream tomorrow. We got some things going on in the late morning and afternoon. So make sure y'all check that out. Again, hit the subscription button and make sure you have the notifications turned on so you don't miss us in the morning. Thank y'all for the love again. And as always, you know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace.